There's a divine power in silence. A supernatural shift happens when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking validation, when you stop putting your energy in every direction, and instead you focus. See, in a world that rewards noise, God honors stillness. In a society obsessed with applause, the kingdom rewards alignment. And let me tell you something. Nothing begins to change on the outside until something shifts on the inside. If you want transformation, if you want growth, if you want purpose to take root and legacy to rise in, you must learn to focus on yourself and stay silent. Because the real work, it doesn't happen on stage, it happens in secret. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom wrapped in discipline. And when you begin to understand this, you stop needing to speak every time you're misunderstood. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself to people who already made up their minds. You stop wasting energy trying to prove something, and you start preserving your power. The first key to mastering your growth journey is learning to embrace silence and know as an escape, but as a strategy. Because silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of strength. There is a kind of quiet that builds kings and queens, a stillness that prepares the soul for greatness. And yet, too many people are addicted to being heard. They're more focused on being seen than being shaped. But hear me, if you have to explain your vision to people who lack vision, you're already delaying your progress. If you keep talking to be understood, you're wasting time that could be used becoming undeniable. Silence gives you the space to grow without pressure, without distraction, and without dilution. See, the wise know something the loud don't, that not everything needs a response, that not every battle is worth fighting. That you don't lose anything by staying silent, but you do lose a lot by reacting too quickly. The person who can stay silent in the face of misunderstanding, rejection, betrayal, or envy, that person is powerful because they understand something deeper is at work. They know God is writing something that doesn't require a press release. They know that internal transformation doesn't need external approval. And I know it's hard. It's hard when people misunderstand your silence and call it arrogance. It's hard when people lie on your name, twist your motives, or mock your stillness. Everything in your flesh wants to respond. You want to clear the air, you want to clap back, you want to set the record straight. But here's the truth. Anytime you step out of your purpose to address pettiness, you lose altitude. Eagles don't argue with pigeons, lions don't explain themselves to sheep, and royalty doesn't fight in the mud. Silence is the space where clarity grows. It's where you meet God, where you hear your next instruction, where you find your own voice again after the world has tried to drown it out. You don't need to raise your voice when your fruit is growing. Let them say what they want, your results will silence them soon enough. Let me give you an example. There was a young man who had a dream to start his own business. He didn't come from much, no capital, no connections, just a fire in his heart and a vision in his mind. When he started, people laughed. His own friends told him he was wasting his time. You're not built for this, they said. Just get a regular job and stop dreaming so big. Every part of him wanted to argue back. Every part of him wanted to explain the strategy, the vision, the plan. But something inside told him to stay quiet and work. And so he did. While others were partying, he was grinding. While others were gossiping, he was reading. While others were laughing at him, he was investing in himself. No long Facebook posts. No dramatic responses, just focus and silence. 2 years later, That same man launched his first successful product, and the very people who laughed began asking for advice. The same people who mocked him started reposting his wins. And you know what? He never once said, "I told you so." His results did the talking. That's the power of silence. It positions you to win without distraction. It preserves your peace while you prepare for elevation. It teaches you to let go of the need for external validation so that your confidence becomes internal, rooted, grounded, unshakable. You don't need to announce what God is doing in your life. When the fruit is ripe, it falls. When the time is right, it reveals itself. Until then, protect your progress in silence. Guard your growth with stillness. Let your work mature before you expose it to the noise, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Focus is the difference between a life of wandering and a life of purpose. It is the quiet force behind every breakthrough, every transformation, every rise from nothing to greatness. And in a world that pulls at your attention from every direction, every notification, every opinion, every crisis, every trend focus has become rare. But it is also more valuable than ever. When you decide to focus on yourself truly and deeply, you begin to reclaim your mind, your time, your energy, your soul. You begin to draw the boundary lines that protect what's sacred. You stop running after things that were never meant for you and start walking in what was always yours. The reason most people never step into the fullness of who they are is not because they lack talent or potential, it's because they lack focus. They're busy trying to be everything to everyone. They spread themselves thin, chasing 1,000 things that look good but don't align with their calling. They listen to 10 different voices, watch 20 different people, and compare their lives to 100 others on social media. And in doing so, they lose sight of the one voice that matters most, the voice inside, the one that whispers, "This is the way, walk in it." You cannot grow while you are constantly distracted. You cannot become disciplined while entertaining chaos. And you cannot become powerful if you are addicted to pleasing people. Focus is not easy, but it is essential. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you popularity. It will cost you superficial friendships, wasted time, and unfruitful conversations. But what it gives you in return is priceless. Peace, direction, clarity, growth, and momentum. And when you make the decision to focus on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of stewardship, your whole life begins to change. There is something sacred about withdrawing from the noise to work on your mind, your discipline, your prayer life, your body, your purpose. It's not glamorous. No one sees the hours you spend reading, thinking, healing, planning, or praying. But that's the soil where transformation takes root. That's the season where God builds you in private so he can reveal you in power. You don't need the world to see your process. You need to be faithful to it. Because when the foundation is strong, nothing can shake what you build. Let me give you an example. There was a woman who had always struggled with inconsistency. She would start things, get excited, then get distracted. She had big dreams, but her focus was always being pulled by relationships that didn't serve her, by the fear of missing out, by what other people were doing. One day, after another disappointing failure, she sat alone in her room, broke and exhausted. And she said to herself, "I'm done chasing. I'm done explaining. I'm done trying to be everywhere at once. I'm going to focus." So she did. She turned off her phone for hours a day. She stopped sharing her plans with people who didn't believe in her. She cut off anything that pulled her away from her peace. And she gave herself permission to go deep. She worked on her business. She invested in coaching. She journaled through her pain. She set routines, stuck to them, and didn't apologize for putting herself first. And for the first time in her life, she began to see real change. Not overnight, but over time, her confidence grew. Her results began to speak. And by the end of the year, she had launched a brand, built a following, and found a level of joy and peace she never thought was possible. That's the power of focus. It doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like consistent, quiet commitment. It looks like saying no when your flesh wants to say yes. It looks like going to bed early while others stay out late. It looks like turning down drama for discipline. It looks like choosing growth over gossip, progress over popularity, and purpose over noise. You want your life to change? Then change your focus. Not for a day, not for a week, but for as long as it takes. Because your future doesn't need your distractions, it needs your discipline. And when you finally give yourself permission to focus fully on you, to stop explaining, to stop chasing, to stop comparing, what you'll find is that the very thing you were running after starts chasing you. Focus doesn't just move your life forward, it multiplies it. There are some instructions that only come in the silence. Some strategies that can only be heard when you shut the world out and tune into heaven. The truth is, most people miss divine direction not because God isn't speaking, but because they're too distracted to hear. The third key is understanding that silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the atmosphere where divine strategy is revealed. It is the soil where wisdom takes root, where discernment sharpens, and where clarity rises out of confusion. We are living in an age of constant noise. The world demands you to be loud, to always have an opinion, to constantly perform, share, prove, and announce. But God doesn't move like the world. He doesn't reveal blueprints in the middle of chaos. He speaks in the quiet. He guides in the stillness. He downloads strategy when you finally decide to get alone and listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Sometimes we're praying for answers, but never getting still enough to receive them. We're asking for direction while scrolling, seeking wisdom while comparing, trying to make big life decisions in the middle of emotional clutter. But silence is where the fog clears. It's where divine timing aligns with divine instruction. It's where you stop reacting and start receiving. When you learn to be silent, you create space for your spirit to breathe. And that's when the strategy shows up, not man's ideas. Not what culture says you should do, but what God knows is best for you. You want to know why so many people are busy but not productive, moving but not progressing? It's because they're making decisions from noise instead of instruction, from pressure instead of presence. They never took the time to be still, to shut the world out, and to ask, God, what do you want me to do? And if you don't take time to get quiet and listen, you'll start following trends instead of truth. You'll build based on popularity instead of purpose. And you'll wonder why you keep ending up frustrated, confused, and drained. Let me give you a real example. There was a man who had built a decent life job, home, respect, but deep down, he knew he was called to something more. He felt this divine nudge, this pull towards something bigger, but he didn't know what it was. So he did what most people do. He tried to figure it out in his head. He made lists, brainstormed ideas, asked friends for opinions. But the more he searched externally, the more lost he felt. Nothing gave him peace. Finally, after weeks of exhaustion and inner chaos, he decided to unplug. He took a weekend retreat, no phone, no distractions, just silence. He brought his Bible, a notebook, and a desperate heart. And in that stillness, something broke open. He started hearing things he hadn't heard. Before promises, instructions, clarity, he realized that the calling he'd been sensing wasn't about chasing something new, but going deeper with what was already in his hand. He went home, repositioned his life, and within a year, he built a thriving business centered on his true calling, impacting lives with his voice. But none of it would have happened if he hadn't stopped long enough to hear. That's the power of silence. It unlocks strategy that hustle can't find. It reveals answers that logic can't reach. And it brings you into alignment with the flow of heaven, where everything you need begins to meet you, not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. When you're silent, you're not doing nothing. You're doing the deepest kind of work. You're filtering out the static. You're separating emotion from truth. You're letting God reorder your thoughts and clear out your confusion. And sometimes what you don't say, what you don't do, what you don't respond to is exactly what protects the seed of your purpose. Silence is not passivity, it's preparation. It's sharpening. It's listening on a frequency that the world can't hear. And in that place, God gives instructions that unlock favor. In that stillness, you hear the strategy that doesn't just get you by, it multiplies your life. So if you're in a season where you feel unclear, pause, pull back, turn the volume down, create space for silence. Because the breakthrough you're waiting on might already be whispering, you just haven't gotten quiet enough to hear it. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight, it happens in the shadows. It's not loud, not glamorous, not always seen or applauded. The fourth key is learning to honor the hidden season. That sacred, often painful stretch of time where nothing seems to be happening on the surface, but beneath it, everything is shifting. Most people resist this season because it feels lonely. It feels like delay. It feels like everyone else is moving ahead while you're stuck in place. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Hidden seasons are where real strength is built. It's where your roots grow deep enough to support the weight of what's coming next. There's a purpose in being hidden. When God hides you, it's never to punish you, it's to prepare you. He hides you to protect what's still forming, to keep your gifts safe while your character catches up, to grow your spirit before He expands your platform. You may feel unseen by the world, but you are fully seen by heaven. And sometimes the greatest sign that you're being chosen is that you've been set apart. But the flesh doesn't like hiddenness. It wants to be seen, known, celebrated. It wants confirmation, attention, validation. It wants the results before it's built the discipline. But in the hidden place, God teaches you to be steady without applause. He teaches you to keep showing up, even when no one's watching. He teaches you to do the internal work healing, forgiving, praying, preparing, because He knows what's coming will crush you if you're not ready. This is where many people give up. They misinterpret the silence as rejection. They think the delay is a denial. They compare their journey to others and wonder why their door hasn't opened yet. But what they don't realize is that God is often answering your prayer for greatness by giving you a season of hiding. Because elevation without preparation is dangerous. Exposure before you're rooted can destroy you. I remember hearing a story about a young woman who was passionate about ministry. She had the gift, the voice, the heart, But every time she tried to step out, doors would close, opportunities would vanish. It seemed like no one noticed her. She watched others with less depth rise quickly, and it hurt. But instead of growing bitter, she went deeper. She buried herself in prayer. She studied. She fasted. She served behind the scenes without complaining. She built her life in silence. Years went by. Then one day, out of nowhere, a door opened. Not just any doorway she never expected. A global platform, a chance to speak to thousands, and she was ready. Not because she had been promoting herself, but because she had allowed God to promote her in His time. She didn't skip the hidden season, she honored it. And now, the same people who overlooked her began to ask how she grew so strong, so wise, so grounded. What they didn't see was the years of being hidden, of being faithful when it felt like no one was watching. That's the fruit of staying planted when you feel invisible. That's what happens when you stop fighting for the spotlight and start building your soul. The hidden season teaches you to depend on God, not applause. It teaches you to trust timing, not pressure. It teaches you that true promotion doesn't come from people, it comes from above. So if you're in that place right now where you feel unseen, unnoticed, stuck, I want you to hear this. You're not being overlooked, you're being developed. God is growing something in you that can't be microwaved. You are not behind, you're being prepared. You are not forgotten, you're being formed. Don't despise your hidden season. Embrace it, protect it, build in it, because what you learn in secret will sustain you in public. And when it's your time, no one will be able to deny it. No one will be able to take credit for it, because it won't be the result of hype or hustle. It'll be the fruit of obedience, patience, and divine preparation. You don't need the world to see you yet. Just make sure when they finally do, you're ready. And until then, stay rooted, stay faithful, and let God finish what He started.